All right, welcome everybody to the Wednesday show. We're back after a non-game weekend, and we're back with festive holiday overlays going into week 14, where we get to see the Ravens once again, this time from Cleveland, and hopefully we get a better output than we did a couple weeks ago. I'm your host at Mike Keeley, and I have with me, as always, Bonzo1273 on Twitter, Mike Rostano. Mike, how's it going, man?
Good. How you doing?
Not too bad. Not too bad. Make sure, yep, chat's coming through on the overlay. Every time I change the overlay stuff, it kind of changes some of the text and how it looks on that kind of on the old interface. So looks okay. Mike R's in the house. We got HNT here, Trouble of a Hub. Mark Schoen's in the house. What's going on, guys? We'll let everybody kind of trickle in. I got to make sure I tweet it out as well. Mike, what did you do? What did you do in the bye week?
Yeah, so it was interesting. I just lounged around. Like I didn't even watch football until probably the end of the late games. Like we had a little joint birthday celebration on Saturday, and the kids were here, so they were here on Sunday as well until I brought them back to school. So yeah, just laid low, just enjoyed being able to relax and not be stressed out on a football Sunday. How about you?
Yeah, it's like one of the nice things. I was telling the people I work with, they're asking me what I did. I'm like, I didn't do a whole lot. I mean, it's a non-Browns game weekend. I felt like I had a bye week,
Yeah. And we deserve one.
Yeah, after what we've put up with this season.
Two. We deserve 2 bye weeks. How about that?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it was nice. I mean, we hung out with the family, did some, Christmassy type stuff and all that, but I missed it. I definitely missed it. And it's one of those things. It's like you get so used to, having your Browns weekends, and then the bye week comes, and it's like, what do we do? My dad's here. Tim's here. Fernando, Mids plug. David Smith is in the house. Ryan Burlow's here. How's it going, guys? Just from an opening thoughts perspective, I mean, having this little bye week, some time to reflect. Going into last week when we lost, it kind of felt like the season was over. It felt like we were kind of done, and this what we've all kind of thought the whole time is this really isn't a championship level team. And then when we can't beat the Steelers, we can't beat the Ravens. This is just another one of those seasons that's going to be. It's okay. We're playing relevant football in the middle of December, which is fine, but that's no longer the expectation anymore. It's not that we're just playing football and it kind of matters. We want to be playing football that really matters. That's like, hey, we want to try to win the division and be, if we were sitting where the Ravens are, I'd feel much better right now. But because we're currently in last place in a very tight division, it doesn't mean that it's over. The Ravens could collapse. They lost Marlon Humphreys. So the Steelers really haven't been able to assert themselves as really being a contender, even though they technically have a better record than us, and they actually beat us. I don't think anybody's scared by the Steelers, and the Bengals, who happen to be floating around there towards the top as well. Just they can't get out of their own way as well. So I will tell you this: it's interesting that we're playing relevant football. We're still doing it. We got 5 games left, and I'm hoping that we put a good showing. If we end up beating the Ravens this weekend, buckle up. It's a whole new season. It's a sprint to the finish line.
Yeah, without a doubt. And I mean, you look at the Ravens, and I mean, we just couldn't score. I mean, if you go back and you look at our game, I mean, they didn't play well at all. I mean, Lamar had 4 picks, and they really couldn't get anything going. And unfortunately, they got enough going, and we couldn't get anything going. So, I mean, it's hindsight's 2020, as they say, and you think back on. I mean, we could just go back to Halloween, right? When we were there, and we thought we were going to have a big weekend, and
yeah,
there's no reason why they should have lost that game. I mean, it is what it is. Your wins and your losses are what they say they are. I think Bill Parcells was the one that that coined that. But what could have been. But at the same time, the bye couldn't have come at a better time. The results during the bye week couldn't have been any better.
Yeah.
So you look at it on Wednesday of week 14, and I mean, you couldn't, if you're the Browns, the way you've played up to this point, to be coming off your bye week where you did some self scouting, and hopefully that works out, and they look through what worked, what didn't work, and they know how to throw that out, keep the good, add to it. And I mean, the Steelers, or I'm sorry, the Ravens came off a physical game against us, even more physical game against the Steelers last week, and now they got to come to our house. So I mean, there's no excuse. I mean, we should be able to put up points. The defense should come out rested and on fire, and Lamar's not going to throw 4 picks again. I mean, he could, but I doubt it. But the one thing that I can say, any other year with Lamar and our defense, I would be worried. However, and we talked about it a little bit last week on the Wednesday show. I mean, JOK is everything that we had hoped for and more. And, he's the Lamar neutralizer. So, I mean, again, not to beat a dead horse, but and probably a poor choice of words after what happened to poor Medina Spirit here during the week. I don't know if you saw that, but
no,
was running laps and just sudden death in the middle of one of his laps and passed on. But yeah, sorry to get solemn there for a second, but point being, you've got to score points, and it's all there in front of them. I mean, you've got a Ravens team that's coming in that's injured, more injured, like you said. Marlon Humphrey is out. I mean, they've got nobody in their secondary. Now, on the flip side, you could say that we have nobody in our wide receiving core, but you do have Jarvis, and hopefully DPJ is going to give us a little bit more of a showing than he has in the past couple of games. But point being, you've got a beat up Ravens team coming in. They should win this game. If they don't, then we've got bigger problems than we think we do. And then you turn around and you've got a Raiders team that, I mean, they haven't been playing great. They lost Darren Waller, so they're a little light on offense. Their defense is okay, and then you've got the big one in Green Bay, which will be a tough one, and then you got the Steelers, and then you got the Bengals. So I mean, you could run the table and afford to lose Green Bay, and you're going to make the playoffs. I think that would put us at 10-7, I think, and possibly the division. So it's all out there. It's whether these guys want to go out and get it, and are they capable? Are they built to go out and get it? So,
I mean, it is. I think it's going to take 11 games to make the playoffs again this season. I really do. Because I think the Ravens, if I go to look at their schedule,
they have
the
second
Packers.
Hardest.
Okay, so they got the Packers, the Bengals, the Rams, and the Steelers. I mean, they're gonna rip off at least 2 wins there, at least, right? So I think the Ravens are in really good shape in the AFC North right now, where they happen to be at 8-4. So it's unfortunate because if we beat the, if you think back to last year, those close games, we happened to just figure out a way to win.
Yeah.
And then this year, the Pittsburgh game was a disappointment. The Chargers game was a disappointment. The Ravens last week was a disappointment. And you take those 3, you switch those, and this is a whole different conversation. And that's really a lot of times what the NFL comes down to. It is one little thing here and there can make or break your season. And, the bottom line is we're not scoring that many points on offense. And when we do, they come in waves. And then, our defense is playing okay. I mean, it's tough to pin it on the defense every game, but we barely snuck by the Lions. Got our doors blown off by the Patriots. We blew the doors off the Bengals. We barely lost the Steelers. I mean, this whole season has just been completely inconsistent. And it's going to be, I'm really curious to see what kind of fortitude we have on this team to get through the last 5. And, because I think if we end up losing this one and go 6-7, there's a good chance we're going to end up with a losing season. Because at the point when we don't really have a chance to make the playoffs start really becoming a reality, I don't know if this team is strong enough to keep playing hard. They might quit. And that's gonna be a bad Steelers game. We don't play well in Heinz Field, and that could be a bad game. And then Bengals at home. If we got nothing to play for, who knows what'll happen there? So this Ravens game is, every game from now on is a must win. It just absolutely is. We cannot afford to lose anymore. And at this point, I don't think, Mike, I just don't think we've earned it. I don't think we've earned we're going to have to win these games in order to earn our way into playoffs.
And to your point, they've been lackluster the whole year, and they deserve to be 6-6. It could be worse. But with that being said, this is where the proverbial rubber meets the road, right? So, again, the way the schedule worked out in terms of wins and losses in the AFC, this past weekend, the sky's the limit. You just got to go out and execute and win games. Now, can they do that? We'll find out.
See.
But Sunday is the beginning. You take care of the Ravens at home. You change the narrative.
Mm-hmm.
And if they beat the Ravens at home, I'm not worried about the Raiders coming to town. I'll be quite honest with you. I think that's the one game on the rest of the schedule that, should they take care of business on Sunday, that game doesn't even worry me. And so you take care of the Ravens, you take care of the Raiders, you play with house money in Green Bay. You go on Christmas Day, you let loose, and you throw it all on the table. And it's no different than a team going. I would say the Lions, but they're inconsequential. But I'll talk about teams going into Dallas on Thanksgiving. It's one of those holiday games, and you just go and you see what you could do. And I think that's what'll happen in Green Bay. Whether they win or not, that's dependent on what kind of momentum they have going into that game. And I'm not saying by any means, even if they go 2-0 going into Christmas, that they're going to win that game. But again, that's why they play the games. Anything can happen. You go in there loose, and now all of a sudden you can lose maybe one of the other ones. But being division games, I doubt it. I think you have to run the AFC games personally.
Yeah,
to get in.
I got to tell you, if we beat the Ravens and we beat the Raiders going into that Christmas game, I think we win Christmas. I think that'll be an absolute enormous game. I think we're going to be up for it. We're going to be on national television against a Super Bowl contending team. And I think that we go in there and we surprise a lot of people Christmas Day. And I think we win that game. But I also said last week, I think whoever wins the first matchup against, Browns Ravens is going to win the next one. So I think that it's going to be an uphill battle here.
I got to tell you, usually you're the optimistic one, and I'm not sensing a lot of optimism from you. I'm worried. I don't know if the chat's worried, but I'm a little worried about you.
I look at it, and I'm trying to be just pragmatic this season, and I haven't seen enough to say that we're a playoff team.
Now, let me ask you this. Would you, if I said to you, and like the New England game, just throw that one out? Because that was just a stinker, and you have those games during the year.
Yep.
When you say they haven't showed us anything, if I said to you, has the defense shown you enough this year to make you believe that we can beat the Ravens and then beat the Raiders and then possibly on Christmas? And it's the offense that doesn't get you excited. And they're the ones that haven't done anything to make you believe that we're going to see a run.
Mm-hmm.
Or is it both of them? You just don't like, you don't like either side of the ball.
I think I don't like the scheming. I don't like the scheming on offense or defense. I think defense is doing what they can do out of like pure talent and ability. Right? I don't think Joe Woods is putting the players in position to make plays. I think you're seeing guys like JOK and Myles Garrett and these guys play out of their mind with the abilities that they have. So the thing that frustrates me about the defense is how Joe Woods puts no pressure on anybody ever and just allows them to attack. And then we have to rely on a muffed pass or something. It's so rare. Like we almost have no takeaways this season. I know that Myles has got a bunch of sacks, but when you really think about what happens when he'll have a sack on second down, it'll put him third and 14, and then they'll convert either on just a natural conversion, or we'll have a penalty and it'll keep the drive alive. So it's the third down sacks are the ones that I'm really interested in.
Or the stops, for that matter.
Or stops, right? And it's like we can't get off the field on defense when we need to, or just consistently we haven't been able to get off the field on defense. And game after game, our defense isn't getting off the field on third down, and our offense isn't keeping games alive on third down when we have the ball. Now, I heard Stefanski say that we're going to see a big workload out of Kareem Hunt, Nick Chubb. We'll see. Yeah. We'll see. And
he's also been coy, which leads me to believe that you're going to see Hudson get another shot at right tackle. I think that's who you see lining up on Sunday. I've heard rumblings of it, and when asked today, he wasn't. I look at it this way. I mean, Blake Hance has been who we marched out every time Conklin couldn't go, right?
Correct.
Now all of a sudden, before this game, they're asking him the question, is there going to be a change at right tackle or whatever? I don't want to talk about it. I don't want to give anybody an edge or whatever. So that leads me to believe that it's Hudson, because nobody cares if it's Hance, right? I mean, everybody, they've seen the film. They know how he plays. So I definitely think you see a change there. And I have to tell you, you were just talking about scheme. 13 personnel is going to be kind of iffy on Sunday, but I'm very interested in Miller Forrestal. He's a big kid. He's got a little bit of speed for his size. I mean, he's 6'5", 239. He runs a 4.79. Bryant, to compare to like Harrison Bryant, he ran a 4.73. So you're talking,
comparable.
Not much of a difference time-wise. He scored a touchdown for the Titans earlier in the season. I don't know if you saw it. Nice little wheel route. He looks like he has nice hands. And then I saw a little footage of him at practice today, and he looked good. So I got to tell you, I'm kind of intrigued about it. I'd like to see what we got in him. They've had him on the practice squad for quite some time. So I mean, they see something in him. Alabama guy, he knows how to win. So I'm curious to see what that brings. Yeah,
actually, it's a good segue into our next talking point here. Our tight end sitch. We're down in Njoku. We're down at Bryant, right?
Yep.
And we got Hoops.
So Njoku said that he feels great. So maybe it could be a false positive. I don't know. I mean, he would have had to pass a test today. I mean, they won't tell us. That would be test 1 on a Wednesday. With him feeling good and symptom free, I want to say that we have a good shot at him. But at the same time, if you go around the league the whole year, I can't think of one person that was put on the COVID list, Tuesday, Wednesday during the season and came off. The only benefit we have is there's no travel. So, I mean, you do have to, you have until 4:00, I think, on Saturday, but because I'm not sure if you could pass a test on Sunday. That was always iffy to me. But either way, we're in town, so it's not like he's got to catch a flight like Roethlisberger out to LA. So
I mean, the reality is, with Njoku, he's been incredibly inconsistent all season anyway. He'll have a great game where everybody's like, "Yep, that's the Njoku that we thought," and then drop a few passes, just be a disaster for the rest of it. I mean, I feel like our tight ends this season have been somewhat of a disappointment. I've been disappointed in Hooper's production. I know Njoku can make a flashy catch here and there, but it's the ones that hit him right in the hands. It's the concentration catches, the Brian Brennan catches that these guys aren't making. I mean, it seemed last year that
Hooper too.
Yeah. It seemed like anything that got near Hooper, he was going to be able to reach out and pull in. Now it's like he's got these big mitts that he kind of like thuds at the ball, and he doesn't concentrate. And I don't have an answer for it. I mean, I don't care who's throwing you the ball. If it hits you in the hands, you got to catch it. The quarterback's job is to put the ball in a position that allows you to catch the ball and make a play. They're not always going to be perfect, but I mean, some of these balls, like last week, if you broke down last week, it's hard to blame that game on Baker. When you've got guys that drive killing drops, it's very frustrating. It's frustrating to see it. It's the same thing that happened to Cincinnati when we played them. They're guys who hadn't dropped anything all season, just ended up dropping everything against us. And those are things that are kind of contagious. When one guy starts taking the concentration off, then the next guy does it. Felton does it. Hooper does it. Njoku does it. Everybody was doing it. Right?
And you alluded to scheme earlier. And you also talked about how Stefanski said that, he wants to give a big workload to Chubb and Hunt. So do we see like some 22 personnel where the two of them are on the field at the same time and you've got, the two tight ends and two receivers out there? I don't know. Would be, I'd like to see it.
Yeah. So my dad was saying earlier in chat too, it's like, why don't we never use these guys? Like it's like, I get it. I mean, there's something to be said about having, really well-rested legs and be able to swap them in and out. Don't get me wrong. I think that's fine. But then at the end of the game, you got Dearness Johnson on the field.
Well, yeah.
That's just craziness to me. It's like it'd be like at the end of the game on defense having Myles Garrett out. You're like, you know what? We're just going to give Gustin a shot.
But then at the same time, to your point, but a 180. So if you run a lot of personnel out there with the two of them, I mean, Dearness has proven that. I mean, he could start in this league for some other team. So
yeah,
it's not like, if you throw the two of them out there at one time and then you've got to, rotate breaks in there. I mean, you're not losing a ton by throwing Dearness in there. And if anything, you're given a ton of looks that nobody's seen on film yet.
Exactly.
And I think that's really, could be a big advantage. I mean, go 22, go 12, throw them totally off. Why not?
Here's the thing. I mean, it's like if you run one running back on one drive, you run him 6 times in the drive, he's going to need a break. But if you run one, then you pass, then you throw a screen to another one, then you run one. I mean, there's no reason why these guys can't be on the field at the same time, and it confuses the defense.
Yeah,
right. And then you got to sit there and go, well, who's going to get the ball? Which one of these guys? I mean, that's a nightmare for a defensive coordinator to think about. It opens up the play action even more because they're going to be keyed in on those two running backs because they're so dangerous, right? So it's again, these are things that two guys like you and I can look at and go, that makes sense. They should probably do that. But they just haven't done it all season. And they're 6-6. They're on the verge of being essentially eliminated from serious contention. You got nothing to lose at this point. You have to win against the Ravens. You have to win against the Steelers. You have to win against the Bengals. And we have to get aggressive right now. We are backed up against a corner and we're fighting for our survival. And let's do it.
I just can't believe when you go back and obviously we said earlier, hindsight is 2020, but I mean, at least if you go back to October 31st, as far as the teams on the field, we had the superior talent.
Yeah.
And we just couldn't score points. And I mean, that was a game that should have been won. And then you go, 2 weeks ago, and that's another game. Like you saw the stat. I mean, like 0-57 or whatever it was in terms of, I don't know if that was the 4-pick stat or whatever, but regardless, you can't have a quarterback throw 4 interceptions and get 3 points off it. So if we look at this week, I think if Stefanski is who we think he is, coming off a bye week and giving these guys some rest, Baker said that this is the best he's felt, in weeks. There is no reason after the Ravens, like we said earlier, just came back from a physical game from us, then went to Pittsburgh for another physical game and lost, and not only lost the game, but also lost Marlon Humphrey. So now, I mean, it's like you and I might as well be in the secondary and, in Baltimore, and they're coming to our house. I mean, if we can't win this game, I don't know, maybe we should start looking to see what we're going to do in April.
Yeah. I mean, this is the test. This is the final test. We've failed a lot of tests this season, where I felt like last season we passed them all. It was like, can we keep the streak going? Can we beat the Steelers? Can we beat the Ravens? Like, can we do these things? Passed a lot. We failed a couple, but this season it seems like we're just consistently not getting there. The penalties have been killer. The discipline hasn't been there. The play calling has been questionable at best, atrocious at worst. The scheming on defense, the lack of pressure. It's like we don't have the 2016, 2017 defensive talent out there. We have a lot of exceptional talent and one of the best players in the league. And then we've got other exceptional talent all over in every other position. And what we're going to see from the Ravens, going on to our Ravens topic, I expect to see 8 to 9 men in the box the whole game. And they're going to say, great, you're going to put Kareem Hunt and Nick Chubb in there? No problem. We're just going to stack the box, and if nothing else, we're going to put a lot of bodies there. And we'll give you 3-4 yards, and we're going to frustrate you. We're going to slam the holes shut. We're going to frustrate you and force you to beat us with your receivers and Baker Mayfield.
Yeah.
And then we better have a plan for that, because if we go into the same strategy that we did last week, or the last week we played, it's going to be a very similar result.
Yeah. And if you look at the injury report this week, and Baker's only a foot and left shoulder. So, I mean, we're progressing, so that's good. But I wasn't even going to look at the Browns list. But if you look at the Ravens list, one of their corners didn't practice today for a knee, right? So I mean, so if this guy doesn't go, like, really, how far deep are they digging into their practice squad to get a body out there to play corner? You look at Boykin was limited. Calais Campbell has an illness. He didn't practice today, so you don't know what is that illness. We don't know. And that's pretty much and then you've got one of their other corners was a full participant today, but he's got a thigh. So just because he was a full participant doesn't mean that, he doesn't have something
He's could be
lingering in his
banged up.
quad. Yeah. So, I mean, if we can't get open and we can't get separation, we got some serious issues. Because I do believe I do believe that Baker will have a good game this week. I do. He's rested. I'm sure, even though the foot's still on there, I'm sure it's feeling better. The knee's feeling better.
Mm-hmm.
It's just a matter of execution. I mean, to your point that you just mentioned earlier, did he play great? No, I watched the film. I mean, he missed a lot of throws.
Right.
But at the same time, there were some drops that, if those drops don't happen, and we could even go as far as to talk about, the first one down to DPJ, it's a whole different ball game, right? So they have to execute. I mean, that's really what it comes down to. And Baker alluded to that in the press conference today as well. They just need to put it together.
Yeah.
Run the right routes, catch the ball, throw the ball on time, don't hold on to it too long. And I think they should. I mean, it's right there. I mean, it really is. Again, I don't know how many times we've talked about it tonight, but you went physical against us to Heinz Field and now back to us. If they beat us, I mean, we're in a sad state. That's how I feel about it.
I mean, the other thing too is the Ravens are giving up a ton of sacks. I mean, they gave us 7 sacks.
Yeah,
to
3
the
to
the Steelers.
To TJ Watt.
Right. And then you look at us. We only got to them twice. The game we played. And the reason is because the Steelers blitz. We don't.
Yeah, and who knows? Maybe we'll see a change there. I don't know, but we may. But as long as we can contain Lamar. But that's the thing. I mean, if you look at that game, I mean, for all intent and purpose, we played great defense, right? I mean, we might not have pressured as much as you would have liked to seen them pressure, right? But
we had 4 turnovers.
You got a couple of sacks. You got 4 picks. I mean, what more can you ask for?
You can. I mean, it was a complete failure on the offensive side of the ball.
Absolutely.
And the fact that it wasn't that I don't think Stefanski wanted to abandon the run. He had to. There are too many guys in the box, and they weren't bringing pressure every play. They weren't. So it's not like we could have just said, okay, if they're bringing pressure, we're going to just dump it over top of them on a screen pass. They weren't doing that. They're putting 8 men in the box, and then if it went back to pass, they're spreading out. And they were able to shut us down like that. Only rushing 3-4 guys, they were still able to get to us. Right? So that's the thing. I don't have the answer on offense. Like the team that we saw come out of the gates against Kansas City that looked like, oh my gosh, you know what? Even though we lost that game, it looks like we're going to take on the world this season. And that offense has had streaks where they're like, oh my God, this offense is incredible. They're everything that they were, they told us they were going to be. And then we have games like the Steelers and the Ravens, and we're like, where did you go? And a lot of it, honestly, Mike, comes down to failed execution. Look at the failed execution in the Steelers game.
Yeah.
The drops, the fumbles, and then look at the Ravens game. It's not that no quarterback. I watched Tom Brady play. Tom Brady throws a lot of balls that are just amazing, but he misses too.
Yeah, he misses too.
He misses.
To your point. I mean, if Landry doesn't fumble heading back down that way, I mean, there's no doubt that they score, and that's a whole different ball game, and they probably win that game. So, yeah, to your point, I mean, you look down the line, right?
Yeah.
If we started, you look at the Chargers game. I mean, that just happened to be. I mean, that's just one of those games, right? It was just a shootout. It was a knockdown, drag it out, and someone has to win. And unfortunately, it wasn't us.
Right.
And then you look at the Steelers game, and it was failed execution, the fumbles and just not running the right routes, etc. Then you look at Uh, who was after the Steelers? Was it the Lions?
Mm-hmm.
Or we have one more? Was there one in between there?
It went Steelers, Bengals, Patriots,
The
Lions.
Bengals. Okay, yes. So we go down there and we boat race them, right? And I
Mhm.
feel like that was just one of those games for the Bengals, right? And then we went what to the Patriots after that,
Yep.
and the
Exact
Patriots,
opposite happened to us.
right? So it was like a tit for a tat, right? We boat raced the Bengals, and then I don't know if they were riding high on thinking oh man we're better than we are, et cetera, whatever, and then they just got their doors blown off, and it happens in the NFL. I mean, it's not you just have those games, and then you come back and you beat the Lions, but the execution is poor. And the only reason why you beat the Lions is because it was the Lions. And then you've got the Ravens. And then there's another game, right? That because of execution, you can't beat the Ravens. 4 turnovers. You score 3 points. You can't execute. If you can't execute, you can't win. And so, I mean, just out of those games, I mean,
it was the execution, and it was also the scheming. I mean, I could point to moments in that Ravens game that were just like, what the hell are we thinking? That like after, like we talked about this last week, after after the 30-yard pass downfield, then you have the razzle dazzle play with Jarvis where he loses the ball, and it's like, it's you go big or you go home, and we went home.
yeah, and you wonder in that situation, and I get it because the plays worked before, and if it does work, we're never talking about it, and we probably win that game. But still, and sometimes we forget that he's only in his second year of calling plays, but I'm almost certain that unfortunately that cost us. But I could almost guarantee that after a big play and we're on the move, that he will never try that again, because you live and you learn. But to your point, you know the coaching there, and unfortunately, the league doesn't care about growing pains. It's a win-loss league, and
Yeah.
I mean, look at Bill Belichick the other night. I mean, his experience showed, right? So I mean,
Arguably at this point, the best team in the league.
yeah, I mean, and that's kind of funny too, because when you look at that, it was always, Belichick was good, but Brady was the man because Brady left, and then he won a Super Bowl with Tampa Bay, and then all of a sudden, Bill Belichick is like, yeah, okay, wait a second, I lost my the greatest quarterback of all time, arguably. I had to, patch it together with duct tape for a year.
Mm-hmm.
Got my guy that can run the offense. I'm still the defensive guru. I've got players. And just 1 year, right? 1 year.
Yeah.
And they're the best team in the AFC. So
Mm-hmm.
it's wild.
I mean, and then to contrast that, where
Yeah.
we had a very similar situation last year where we underperformed with Freddie, and then we came back and we're like, look, 1 year, we're 1 year, we get the right coach,
Yeah, most definitely.
the right coach. We retooled a little bit, and we really took last year by storm, and now this year, sitting at 6-6, I mean the caliber of teams that are at 6-6 or around us would be the Colts, the Steelers, the Raiders, the Broncos, the Dolphins. And is anybody talking about any of those teams as like real Super Bowl contenders?
No, and the wild thing is, I can't remember the last time we were entering week 14, and there is absolutely no scenario in the AFC in week 14 that somebody can clinch a playoff spot. Whereas if you look at the NFC side of things, there's several different ways, if you will, that like the Packers could clinch, and there's somebody else, and I don't know, the Tampa
The
Bay,
Buccaneers, yeah.
how they can clinch. But man, in the AFC, and we alluded to it earlier, it is wide open. You literally, whoever goes on a run right now is going to be the team that winds up, or teams, I should say, wind up winning divisions and making the playoffs. I don't think
it's fair.
Yeah, I think the Patriots will win that division. The Chiefs have been coming on, even though the Mahomes hasn't even played that well. So I think the AFC could go one or two ways between those two teams, but I just have a feeling that it's Belichick and the Patriots. And then the North is wide open. I mean, everything really is wide open.
Let me tell you,
even the West is wide open, really.
Yeah, I mean, it could go to the Titans, it could go to the Colts. That could flip easily.
Yep.
The bad thing about the AFC at this point, and the one thing that we talked about we've been talking about, is if we could have the playoffs come through Cleveland, that's a different scenario. It's a massive, massive advantage. Come playoff time, to play at home, not have to travel, in familiar surroundings with your fans cheering, and the stadium's going to be packed. We're going to have to go through, at this point at least, the playoffs are going to go through New England. And we saw what we had to do last year when we were, it's an uphill battle. Now on the flip side of it, the Buccaneers had to go, play away until the damn Super Bowl where they played at home.
Yeah.
But in terms of, which is just ridiculous, but in terms of this, I mean, we got our doors knocked out when we played the Patriots in New England. I am not interested in going back there and re-experiencing that, but that's what it's going to look like, right?
Yeah. But if you run, so obviously we're Browns people, so we're going to talk about the Browns. So if we use them as an example, I mean, if they run the table and they win the next 5, or even they win the next, 2, lose the 1, win the 2 after it, I would gather that we're one of the hottest teams in the AFC at that point, and we're like one of those momentum type of teams, right? And I mean, this is the time of the year when I mean, you go back, and I always use them as an example, but when you go back and look at that Eagles team that won the Super Bowl, I mean, you would have never thought that team was gonna.
Well, even last year with the Buccaneers, I didn't think the Buccaneers, they were 10-6 team.
Yeah.
We were a better team in the regular season than the Buccaneers last year. So it's like, you look at it and I don't know, right? But the reality is, right now, we are our company in the AFC consists of the Jets, the Broncos, and the Texans. We are a last place team in the AFC. Now in the NFC, if we happen to be in the NFC, we'd be in the driver's seat for a playoff spot. We'd be like right there. A 6-6 team in the playoff, or in the NFC, is golden.
Oh, you're 2 games ahead.
Yeah. But in the AFC, where I think the strength is in the league right now is in the AFC. And, outside of the top team, I mean, top teams in the NFC with the Cardinals, the Packers, and the Bucks, I mean, they would play well in the AFC no matter what. But
yeah, it was the Cardinals that I was missing that also could clinch. There were 3 of them.
Yeah, they have the best. They're the only double digit team in terms of wins, this season. So, but I mean, you got to, if you're the Rams sitting at 8-4, you got to be like, hey, look, we're going to make the playoffs. We're making a run. Cowboys think they're going to make a run at 8-4.
Yeah.
The Packers at 9-3, they're like, hey, look, we're doing our last dance here with Rodgers.
Man, how much would you steal to be able to have one of the 3 of CeeDee Lamb, Amari Cooper, or Michael Gallup, right? I mean, think about that.
Yeah.
Or if you go to the Rams, Cooper Kupp, OBJ. Hey, I know we don't want to talk about him, but so far McVay has used OBJ like OBJ needs to be used, right? The fade pattern in the end zone, that's his bread and butter. Slant plays, that's his bread and butter. And then you got Van Jefferson, right? Robert Woods going out with that. That was a tough one, but Van Jefferson's a young guy that's really come on. And then, so you look at some of those teams and you look at some of those, some of those receivers.
Yep.
And then, I mean, if you look at the Cowboys and you got Pollard and you got Zeke. So, I mean, the run game is there as well. You look at Higbee in Los Angeles and Henderson and Sony Michel. And then you look at us and you're like, oh, well, I mean, and I noticed how I didn't even mention the quarterbacks there.
Yep.
And then you look at us and you've got, Hunt and Chubb, you've got Hooper and Njoku and Bryant, which is, I mean, when they catch the ball, I mean, that's a solid 3. I mean, they're pretty good for what the league has to offer at tight end. But then you go to the receivers, right? And now you've got Landry. What you don't know what you're getting in DPJ, right? We're waiting for him to break out, and he has a breakout, and then he stinks.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. So it's like, and then who, right? Higgins can't even get on the roster, or on the 53. But I think I'm almost 100% that he will play this week. But to the point, you can't get Higgins on the field. That you send JoJo Natson and Bradley out there. And I understand they do other things, but right now we really don't care about it. Like, what other things? When was the last time someone runs a kickoff back, right? I mean, it's like 2 times in a year, or a punt for that matter. So to me, trying to get points on offense totally outweighs, I need some special team guys,
Yeah.
And then you look at Schwartz, and I don't even know if you're going to see Schwartz again this year, to be quite honest with you, because he's still in concussion protocol, which really scares me. Right.
Yeah.
So we're really lacking
and to be honest,
the wide receiver spot.
We haven't seen, Schwartz has kind of been what we thought he was. He's really fast, but he gets blown over when the wind blows. And he doesn't have consistent hands. A
mid-round pick, just what he is.
He's a sprinter. He's a track star who figured out a way to play football. But I mean, he's a glorified gunner, and he hasn't done very much. And then Peoples-Jones, I think Peoples-Jones is what Peoples-Jones is as well. I think he's living up to about where
fifth, sixth round guy, whatever it was.
I think that's what he is. Now he can shine in moments.
Yeah,
but he's not going to be a Jarvis. He's not a young Jarvis. He's not a young OBJ. He's an okay guy. And Jamarcus Bradley's a guy that we're going to forget about, a year or two from now. Like, we're just like, who's that?
Who?
Yeah. It's like, oh, do you remember Jamarcus Bradley? So like, oh yeah, I think he caught a couple balls for us here and there. We haven't gotten Demetric Felton back involved at all, since the Bears game.
But then if you go back, we did get him involved, and he dropped that big 3rd down pass.
Yeah,
which could have led to points on that drive.
It's just, I don't know, man. It is very, very frustrating. And the biggest difference I think here is, in the NFL, there's a reason why it's a passing league. It's because you can neutralize the run. If you sell out for the run and put 8-9 guys in the box and say, go ahead and we're going to challenge you on the run, you can neutralize that even with the best running backs in the league. I don't care who it is, Derrick Henry, Nick Chubb, it doesn't matter. If you're going to say beat us with the pass and then you cannot do it, whether it's poor execution from the quarterback, poor execution from the offensive line, from a pass blocking perspective, drop passes from the wide receivers. I don't care what it is. If you're going to say, look, beat us with the pass, and then you don't, when you have 8 guys in the box, well, guess what? You're going to lose games because they are taking away your biggest weapon, the thing that our team was built for, which was the run. And because now because you're doing that, you're taking away the play action. And I got to tell you, man, the most frustrating thing I see about Kevin Stefanski's offense is the damn empty backfield set. No running back. Our two scariest weapons we have on offense. And you're going to say, nope, they're not going to be used.
Yeah, and all bets are off again. I mean, we're coming down the home stretch. I mean, you win or you go home. So you need the best athletes on the field at one time that you can possibly provide. And right now, Chubb and Hunt are your bread and butter on offense. I mean, there's no doubt about it. I mean, those are your dogs, so to speak, right?
Yes.
If you said who are your best two skill players on the offense, it's Chubb and Hunt, 1 and 1A. So if you're worth your weight in salt, right, as they say, then as a coaching staff, you should have been trying to figure out a way to be able to put those two on the field at the same time and create mismatches. And I mean, I'm just a middle-aged guy sitting in the state of Delaware, and I know that if you throw the two of them out on the field at the same time and you split one out, preferably Kareem, or put him in the slot, you're gonna have positive plays.
Yeah, because I mean,
you have to.
He can run little circle routes. He can do little slants, and then nestle into zones imagine always having a check down. The biggest problem with Baker is they're sending guys out and he doesn't have a check down, and then when it collapses, that's it. Tom Brady has a check down every play. You have to work. It's almost like his first read is the check down. Right? You have to protect against that.
Yeah.
Right. He's got no problem dumping it off to Fournette or Jones or whomever. He always has that escapability with the pass. And when we do this empty backfield stuff and we're not threatening, we're not threatening anything. It just doesn't make any sense to me. I mean, and then when something does work, Stefanski never, like a whole season, play that way. In strategy in general, I don't care what it is. It could be business, it could be sports, it could be war. Whatever strategy you're looking at, all you're doing is with that feedback loop that you do is you have an idea, right? You have an idea, you try to execute on that idea, you measure if it worked, and then you say, okay, did it work or not? If it did work, you put it into the good pile. If it didn't work, you throw it away. And then at some point, you have a whole bunch of plays that are in the good pile that you can then put into your stuff. And instead, look, when Harrison Bryant goes in motion and then trickles back into like the pro set and goes over to, just the kind of wing, we're running it to the right side. And it's like these are plays that are so scripted. It's like, where is it? Where's the creativity?
No, I mean, you bring up a great point, because I mean, if you go back and you look at the film on a lot of those plays, to your point, you go empty and it's like, okay, well, we know what you're doing. And then all of a sudden now you line back up and you've got you're in 13 and you got two tight ends on the strong side and one on the weak side.
And all that's doing is forcing guys in the middle.
Right. And what do? They run to the strong side. And we talked about this, I believe, last week, where, we never changed the play, whether I know, like we said, he gets two play calls and he could choose from them. I would hope that he could reverse a play and go the other way. One play in particular that's been burning in my mind since the Ravens game was exactly the play that I just talked about, where we were in 13 personnel. We had two tight ends to the strong side, and I swear to you, the Ravens had like their whole team over there, and we still ran there. And you're basically wasting a play. And I understand, right? The NFL is a new breed now, where we like to gain big chunks at a time, etc. But I mean, it's not 1st and 20. It's not 1st and 15. It's not 1st and 30. It's 1st and 10. You have to go 10 yards, right? And to your point, Tom Brady made a living. I mean, Tom Brady won Super Bowls, understanding that I just need to keep the chains moving.
Mm-hmm.
So if we get a run for 2 or 3 yards, and now I'm dropping back, and I can't get anybody, but I could check down and gain 4.
Take it,
because now all of a sudden, now it's 3rd and 3, 3rd and 2.
You know what? And you know what you're
manageable.
doing too, Mike. When you're taking those little plays, another way that Tom Brady made a living with the guys like Wes Welker and those things is he would do the little check down, the little dump plays, and then putting it into the hands of Pro Bowlers who, guess what? You break 1 tackle or 2 tackles, now you're going for 30 yards. The
Correct.
worst thing that happens is you get 4. But the upside of putting the ball in Nick Chubb's hands or Kareem Hunt or guys like that, or, and at this point, I know we're getting Jarvis involved, but I mean, Jarvis he's out there on one leg. I know he's got to be taking a shot to get out there. Yeah. So he's not Jarvis of like 2014, 2012, right? He is a guy who's got a lot. He doesn't have much tread left on the tires, and we're running the ball with him. We're making him run the ball,
or get whacked in the backfield trying to throw a pass. Probably, yeah. I mean, I never thought of it that way either. So good point. You probably want to protect that guy, considering. I mean, literally, as name guys go, right? I know we all love to do. Oh, so and so has this guy, and the name, and you're like, oh yeah, he's a good player.
You got to respect that guy.
Yeah,
you got to.
Yeah, you look at our team, and you're like Jarvis Landry, and then who? From the receiver standpoint, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Again, DPJ, he's shown brilliance like you talked about earlier, but there's no consistency. So,
and we did that to ourselves because we had a threat and we could not consistently get him the ball. And it got to the point where, again, he was probably seeing it too. He's like, they're stacking the box. I'm downfield blocking for a living at this point, and I might get two or three balls thrown my way. Hopefully this guy's going to hit me with them. If not, whatever. Like I'm irrelevant.
Right.
And so I understand the frustration. So it's not like
we had that name.
It's not like we didn't, right? And now
we drew double coverage.
Right. And they're still analyzing him to the point of, on the Rams going, look at the kind of covers that he's sucking up. And this is what you've talked about quite a bit. He was like, even though he's out there and he's not getting the ball, he's soaking up a lot of coverage, which is opening up other guys. Now, look what the Ravens did. They're going, yeah, go ahead. Beat us with Jarvis Landry. Fine, throw it to him 6 times. We don't care. We're still going to beat you because you can't do what you want to do, which is run the ball. And the Ravens are deathly afraid of Nick Chubb. Nick Chubb has when we beat the Ravens, we typically beat him with Nick Chubb.
Yeah. He just goes off. If
they're just like, you know what, we're going to beat us with Baker now. And so he's got to have a good game. I don't expect, like you said, I don't expect us to get 4 turnovers. If we do and we don't win,
oh, forget it.
I got to tell you, man, like it's at this point with a beat up Ravens team getting handed, 4 whatever kind of turnovers, I don't care what they are, giving 4 turnovers, fumbles or interceptions, and not being able to convert them into points with their beat up defense. I mean, Marlon Humphrey being out is like Minkah Fitzpatrick being out. It's like TJ Watt being out.
Yeah.
I mean, he is that much of a difference maker for that team. He's out. We have to exploit that.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, we really don't have a superstar out there that can do it.
And probably go ahead.
And so this is, again, now you think to the future then. In April, are we looking to draft first round wide receiver? Are we looking to draft a wide receiver in the first round who could possibly come in? And because I think you have to. I gotta tell you, it's going to be. I
think you have to.
I'd like to see another guy like a Myles Garrett on the other side, another young Myles Garrett on the other side.
It would be nice though, but then we couldn't score.
Well, I mean, and that's the thing. Like, we're not going to get the free agents on offense either, because the free agents on our offense are going to go. You got Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt. Baker's not a guy who's going to throw 50 times a game. He's just not. And if you do, then good luck. So the wide receivers, like the Allen Robinson type guys, they're not going to want to come to Cleveland. They're gonna do what OBJ did. They're gonna be like, give me a Matt Stafford.
And I feel like if you had a talent on, even with the way Baker's played this year, right? If you had a Jamar Chase type, let's say, right, or a Jalen Waddle on this team, I think even the bad balls, you would have seen more. I'm trying to figure out how I could say it. Like OBJ, the myth, right? But we see he could still play, right? I mean, he's playing well with Los Angeles. He draws the coverage and whatnot. But he's like, for the lack of a better way to explain, like he's like, an old superstar, right? Like he's like Dorn from Major League, right?
Yeah.
Runs great, still plays well, but like a little timid. He doesn't want to get hit, right? So I think that hindered us, right? And then you take, like, if you would have taken like a Jamar Chase or a Jalen Waddle that's young and hungry and a first round talent, I think maybe you would have seen some difference making out of that, out of that number one wide receiver position.
I mean, even look at a guy like Devonta Smith. I mean,
or him as well.
He's got 50 catches right now. He doesn't have a whole lot of touchdowns, but he's got 50 catches.
And I'll tell you, Mike, because I get I have the Sunday ticket, but Jalen Hurts is my quarterback, so I watch the Eagles a lot too in fantasy. And I mean, if you think Baker misses guys, Jalen Hurts misses a lot of guys too. But he had a lot of plays, to your point, with the 50 plus catches that Devonta has. He's given him a chance and just thrown it to him, thrown it up, thrown it through coverage, and the kids made catches and made plays and scored touchdowns. So, and I think that's what I was trying to get at, and that was a perfect example that you just threw out there, Smith, because I think that if they didn't waste their time, it was all the injury. I mean, if OBJ doesn't get hurt, they part ways in the offseason and they go out and they draft a number one. But he got hurt. They knew he was coming. They had other needs, and they figured, let's run it back one more time, and it bit us. But I don't see them. I don't see them not going wide receiver in the first. I can't imagine that they don't.
It would be a tragedy if they didn't.
It really would. And the talent's there, right? I mean, you've got Williams from Alabama, you've got Olave, you've got Smith, you've got Burks from Arkansas, the kid from Penn State, you've got the kid from out west. I mean, you
got the two kids from Ohio State.
Yeah, they're plentiful. Yeah,
I mean, right now, our Jarvis Landry has 33 receptions. He's getting paid out the ass. Got 33 receptions, 0 touchdowns. The same thing as last year, just like basically not getting in the end zone anymore. 356 yards. His longest is 38 yards. Their next top receivers, Hooper with 28, then Njoku with 27, then Hunt with 20, then DPJ 18, and Harrison Bryant 16. Devonta Smith with 50 would dwarf our team. 50 and 4 touchdowns. We don't have anybody with even close to that.
Not even close to it.
Not even close. And he's a rookie. He's a rookie with a, I guess Jalen Hurts has been okay, but my God. I mean, Baker's stats right now, if you look at him, with a 62% completion percentage is a little bit misleading because you're not accounting for drops. But 11 touchdowns in what, 12 weeks of play?
Yeah,
11.
It's abysmal. But to your point,
even give him Case Keenum's 1. That's 12.
Yeah,
it's not good enough.
No, it's not. And you wonder how many. I mean, I could probably, if I really sat here and went game for game, I would probably go out on a ledge, and you tell me if you would agree with me, but I would probably go out on a ledge and say if I went back and thought of the touchdowns, the catches that were dropped that were either probably going to be guaranteed touchdowns, or it could have went either way, but I think it probably would have been six, like Hooper on Halloween threw his hands on the 5 yard line or whatever it was. You could probably get Baker close to 20 touchdowns if you counted a lot of those drops,
or just drive killing drops in general that take you out of the red zone. You know, red zone Browns last year was dangerous. This year, I mean, we're not even getting there. It's not like, you know, old Browns were like getting to the red zone. It's like, well, the best we're going to come out with is 3 points. Last year it was touchdowns. 2007 it was touchdowns. This year we're not getting there. And when we get in, we're okay, but we're not really getting in there. And that's been the frustrating thing, because this season was supposed to be about taking that step forward. This we were supposed to be where the Cardinals are. We were supposed to, you know, do all the things that we were supposed to do, and we just haven't. And there's been injuries that have been involved with that. There's been some bad luck, but in a lot of cases we've done it to ourselves as well. Up and down the season, we really can't make a ton of excuses. But if you really think about it, I know we're fans and everything like that, but we're talking about a 6-6 team in the business end of the season. And in order for us to go on a run and make the playoffs and then go on a run in the playoffs, it would be nothing shy of a miracle. An absolute miracle, with the drama that we went through this season, with the OBJ garbage. This stuff like this doesn't happen.
But and what I will say to go along with what you were just saying, and it's a big if, but if they have figured out some of these scheme type of things, and to a man, they've looked at each other and said, the drop balls have to stop, the bad routes have to stop, Baker is the healthiest we'll say that he's been, you know, in weeks, right? Then I think you could see some positives being built. I mean, if you look at last year, right? I mean, we didn't have much at wide receiver, and we still went on a run and were a play or two away from getting to the championship game, right? So they can do it. And we know they can do it. It's just a matter of, do they want to do it? I'm not saying that they're like, oh man, you know, screw it, we don't want to, whatever. That's not what I'm saying. Mm-hmm. You know, there's a lot of wanting, but you're just not capable for some strange reason. So, you know, you just got to hope that, you know, they through self-scouting, they figure out what works, what doesn't work, what possibly could work. Hint, hint, if you're listening, more screens, and get solid play. I mean, they're not scrubs, right? But, you know, they're also not, you know, top tier in the league in the skill positions in terms of wide receiver, and the tight end position. We're just, you know, I mean, they're not playing horrible. They are dropping some passes here and there, but the biggest issue is the fact that, you know, we got one with a high ankle sprain and one on the COVID list. So, you know, especially this week, I just hope that Njoku could find a way to get 2 positive tests, because with him out there, I think it's a no-brainer. I think we definitely win the game.
It's going to be interesting. You know, I'm going into this one with, again, I am now based in reality. We're a 6-6 team. If we win this game, we'll be 7-6. Which will put us, it'll put us in the mold of, you know, some other,
in the hunt.
We're in the hunt.
All you could ask for, right?
Yeah, but we're the Colts, you know. But
we could find a way to stack those together and get to the postseason.
When we do stack them together, if we win 3 games in a row.
Yep.
If we go in and we can win against the Ravens, against the Raiders, and then we put on a performance Christmas Day and we win 3 in a row, buckle up. Buckle up, because we're getting hot at the right time. And if we win 3 in a row, there's no reason why we couldn't win 5. There really isn't, because I mean, we have the Steelers and the Bengals are the two easier. They're lighter games on the schedule, right? Arguably, standings wise, I mean, the Raiders are 6-6, so I mean that's a coin toss. The Ravens right now are an 8-4 team, and the Packers are 9-3. The Packers might be overlooking us though, but again, it's a Christmas Day game, and you're gonna see a professional quarterback, one of the best to have ever done it, in Aaron Rodgers.
Unless that COVID toe's bugging him.
Well, you're right. But what's going to happen in that game? That will be the true, barometer. Because if you look at the teams that have had good quarterbacks, I mean, Herbert chewed us up. Kyler Murray chewed us up. I mean, I guess Mac Jones, I wouldn't call him elite, but he's pretty darn good. And those quarterbacks have really chewed us up, and it's we got to take it one game at a time. Like Stefanski always says, one game at a time. But we really need 5. We need 5 games in order to make this thing happen. And if we do, we're going into the playoffs, and we're probably the team to beat, because we got hot at the right time, and we got a whole lot of talent. But I got to tell you, there's nothing that I've seen so far this season, the 2021 season, the Cleveland Browns, that leads me to believe at this point we are capable of winning 5 in a row to catapult ourselves into the playoffs. Not to say that it's impossible. It's just very improbable based off of what they've put on the field. And whether it's an injury or it's scheming, play calling, execution, penalties, I mean, just you name it, it has not worked. And I think the reason why we're 6-6 right now, and not something like 4-8, is because we've got talent. And talent, you can win games with talent alone. Not many, but you can.
Yeah, I can't sit here and disagree with anything you said, right? I agree with you. Up until this point, they are what they are, and they're a 6-16. But if they found a way to put it all together after this bye week, they could change your thought process towards it. All of our thought process, right? Because I agree with you. I mean, up until this point, I mean, there hasn't been much to write home about. There's been bright spots in several areas, but that's about it. But if they get it figured out and get this first one under their belt, and convincingly, we might be able to see a run.
Hey man, if we're 8-6 going into Green Bay, it's going to be a wild Christmas. And if we win that game on Christmas, holy toaster. We are, we're being 9-6 with 2 games left against the Steelers and Steelers in Hines, and then the Bengals at home. I mean, it's a whole new ballgame.
I have to tell you,
we got to execute though.
I have to tell you, I'm not even worried about I think that they beat the Steelers at Heinz Field, and I think they take care of the Bengals at home. I'm not even worried about those 2 games. Like, that's 2-0 in my mind. I'll be quite honest with you. The season is the next 3 games. I feel you have to go 2-1. You have to go 2-1, and I don't even and preferably it's got to be
Ravens and Raiders,
and the Raiders got to be the AFC. But I think those are your 2 games. To be quite honest with you, and obviously because you got to go 1-0 each week. I know that's their mantra.
Does 10-7 get in though?
I think it does in this AFC. I think 10-7 can get you a home playoff game.
It depends if the Ravens collapse.
Yeah, and they may well. I mean,
And you're right. Yeah. I mean, this is going to be the first test because they go 8-5. They could start teetering down because of the Humphrey situation. Like, he's out. The best defensive player's out.
I mean, they've got nobody in the secondary. Like nobody.
And Lamar has come back down to earth. Like, he's not MVP
Right.
Lamar anymore.
No, he's not putting up 40 points a game.
The league has kind of figured him out. And so that's what they are. I mean, they're a good team right now, but like let's think about at this time last year, the Steelers were undefeated.
Yeah, I mean,
the
there you
Steelers
go.
were 11-0.
So anything's possible, Mike.
Anything's possible.
Anything is possible.
Anything is possible. We'll see what happens. I mean, stranger things have happened, but this team has to have a monumental turnaround in terms of what they're putting out there in the performance on the field. They have the talent. They have smart coaches. They've got talented players. They got to play with their head and their heart. If they do that, I think we're going to be in good shape, right? I think we are. I think we can beat the Ravens. I know we can beat the Bengals. We already beat the crap out of them. But the Ravens and the Steelers and the Bengals, like those three. And then if we can get past the Raiders and some miracle, we go into Lambeau and play well against the Packers. I mean, we rip off 5, Mike. We are the team to beat in the NFL. It's not even AFC. Like we win 5. We're hosting a playoff game, and like they're not going to want to come to Cleveland.
I've been saying it for a couple of weeks. If you set aside the fact that we want more blitz calls, etc., the defense is the healthiest that they've been. You're getting Phillips back now. I don't know if he's going to play this week, but he's on tap. It's soon. So you add a little bit of team speed to JOK at the linebacker position. I mean, the secondary. You look. JJ3 has really started playing well the past couple of games. Denzel has been lights out. Newsome is everything that you could have wanted from a first-round draft pick. At corner, he's held his own all year. You look at Miles is having a solid year. Clowney is gutting through some injuries, and I mean, Clowney himself could have had 6 sacks against the Ravens. I mean, he would talk about a day late and a dollar short, but like by like the tiniest of margins, right? And
I mean, is that age catching up to him?
I don't know. He's fast. I just anybody else and he's good. It just happened to, it's Lamar. But I mean, the defense they've looked really good. I mean, if you think
Clowney's going to resign?
I think he may. I don't see why he wouldn't, and I don't see why the Browns wouldn't want him back.
And I can't see some other team coming over the top and being like, hey, we'll pay you more.
And Barry seemed like he was open to it. He doesn't tip his hand much, during those bye week press conferences. But it to me, like if I had to read the tea leaves, I would think that they're all for bringing Clowney back. And I'll throw an interesting monkey wrench, if you will, into the equation. I know he's coming along good. Right. I just don't know exactly where he is at this point, but I've heard good things through some of the people that I talked to. But Olivier Vernon, that could be a surprise down the line. He could possibly be back for a playoff type of run.
Are you serious?
He's
what's he been up to?
He's getting ready.
He's not doing like fan controlled, right?
He's no. He's going through his rehab and it's not unrealistic that if you need him, that you could have him at the end of the year.
Head Mike says no way on Vernon.
I know he does, but he's being a negative Nancy all day.
He disagrees with you. To be honest, I wouldn't. The way that Vernon played at the end of last season, sign me up.
Yeah, I mean, if he could go, let's bring it on.
Bring him on. It's not like he's gonna have to learn anything. He knows the defense. he can step in and be effective day one, I'm not against it. Fresh from not getting banged up this season. Could be one of those like wild card type guys. Again, but the thing is, the offense is the one that scares me. The offense has got to turn it on.
I agree with you.
The offense has to turn it on and has to figure out what they're doing, because if not, I know we think about this next year, but if we're going to put our positive hats on, Baker's got a lot of touchdowns to throw here in the next 5 games against some pretty decent defenses. And if he does it, he's gonna be okay. And he's gonna get his 5th year, and we're gonna bring in a quarterback. Hopefully he does okay. Yeah. But he's got a lot of touchdowns he's got to throw. And
I agree with you. And it would behoove all of us if that did occur, because I know we're hard on him. Everybody is hard on him, but we would much rather see 6 succeed and be that guy than not be that guy and then have to do this whole thing again. So I think, to your point about the next 5 games, I think, and needing to score a lot of touchdowns, I would say that that's something that we really, really need to see from Baker in these last 5 games.
No doubt.
To show us that, hey, I could go through my progressions, I could find the open guy and I can get points on the board. And, hopefully that happens and the rest takes care of itself, as they say.
Yeah, I'm with you. Final thoughts, Mike. Let's make it a fun final thought. I'll kick it to you for final thoughts to start us off here.
Yeah. So I would go, let me preface the game with this, that I'll be there this weekend. It's going to be a great weekend. I've got club seats to the Cavs on Saturday night, so we're excited about that. And before that, we're going to go drink some Christmas ale at Great Lakes. And hopefully we get a nice Cavs win against the Kings on Saturday night. Then Sunday, speaking of Mike Pett, I get to see him on Sunday morning and drink some beers together. We haven't seen each other since Halloween. And Ryan Crowley's going to be there as well, down at the Top Dog, and Eric and crew. So I'm stoked for that. And, the cherry then on top of my perfect weekend Sunday would be a Browns win over the Ravens, because and it's a 2-parter, Mike, right? The first part is we really, really, really need this win, right? We have to have this win. So that's part 1. But part 2 is simply my own selfish reasons, because if I got to do the walk of shame through the freaking Baltimore Washington International Airport one more time, I'm not doing it anymore. I can't do it anymore. I want to walk through there with my Browns gear and my Victory Monday shirt just once, just to walk through there. Just one time. As Sam Retigliano said, one time. Just one time. And just smile as I walk through and get on the bus and go to get my car and drive home and enjoy my Monday off. So that's where I'm at. And, I'm excited for it. And I think, and actually I was telling Mike Ped this earlier, and he thinks I'm crazy, but because I feel like we're going to have a nice offensive outburst, but my offensive outburst is only 21 points, but that's, 21 is pretty big compared to the 10 that we've been scoring.
I'll take it.
So I'm going 21-17 Browns, and I'm feeling good about it.
I'm going to go with the squeaker, 24-23 Browns. So it's going to be a very close game.
I like it.
24-23. I'm going to be in Nashville next Wednesday for the Wednesday show. So again, remote Wednesday show, guys. But nonetheless, it's been fun this season. Lots of up and downs. I expect this one to be another up. I do expect us to win. I think Mike's going to deliver us that home field win in Cleveland. And I think that, buckle up, guys, because if we end up ripping off 3 games in a row, if we have a nice little streak, there's a good chance I'm going to be coming up to that Bengals game, final game of the season.
Hey, you already got it booked.
I got the hotel booked, that's for sure. So it just comes down to like, can we make it worth it, right? So, which will be wild. It'll be playoff atmosphere. It'll be intense. So
let me tell you what. I mean, I'm on the road to, and Mike's going to laugh about this in the chat, but I'm on the road to. I'm going to be there this weekend. Maybe going to Heinz Field and then home against the Bengals.
You're thinking about going to Heinz?
So I am. This has been something that I've been talking to Mike about, and we might be pulling that trigger. So we'll see.
Wow, I gotta tell you, Mike, that would be a fun one. I think going there into really enemy territory like that. I've been talking to a friend of mine, Mark Tafakis, who's been on the channel before. He's a big Steelers fan. I said, if I ever go to Pittsburgh, I'm going with you. And he said, we're going to make that happen one day. So we'll see. I mean, and then again next year, I mean, we had a lot of fun. My dad and I had a lot of fun up there, at the Steelers game, even though we lost.
If you take away the loss, we had such a great time.
Oh, it was a great weekend.
Yeah.
And I think, hopefully next year, if my dad's feeling okay and, his knee, he said, was bothering him a lot. He's got, pretty bad gout problem in his knee, and he's like, I can barely walk. He might be in a wheelchair, but we'll get him there. So, and I mean, I'd love to have a game where I bring the whole family up. It would, the kids are a little bit. I think my 2 older ones could handle it. My daughter will be 3 and a half. No, I'm sorry. She'll be 4. I don't know. I don't know if she'll be able to handle it.
Might still be a little young for the.
Yeah, it might be a little tough. Unless for somehow we were able to like squeeze her into some sort of like luxury box where like she can, hang out and not be like sitting in a seat or anything like that. But nonetheless, I mean, hey. I will tell you this. It has been a tough road to be playing relevant football. We've had so many seasons where we're out of it by October, where it's like, what the hell? I mean, what's the point of even watching these damn games? It just comes down to okay, well, yeah, let's who we drafted. The old joke about, the Brown Super Bowl is the draft. And now that we're playing relevant football, it's interesting. I'm glad it's interesting. I'm glad you guys are all here to help, enjoy it with us. But, at this point, I want to see us win. I want to see us win one,
Yeah, I hear that.
And when we have windows like this, teams go through them, and, it is what it is. Killy, you wouldn't go unless the Browns are locked for the playoffs. What if they, needed help? I don't know, man. It honestly comes down to I would be going with my wife, Ryan, and if she said if she's gonna like bear that weather for that game, it better be a relevant game.
Yeah, but you know what? You just got to tell her how enjoyable the actual city is, and that'll be just as much fun as a victory.
Yeah, you're absolutely right.
I mean, it really is.
It is. It's just like it's gonna be frigid, and we're in Florida. We're in Florida, man. We're not. We're like that type of weather it's quite the change for us.
But then again, with the global warming, it could be 52 on January 8th. I mean, it probably won't, but I mean, it's going to be almost 50 on December 12th. The game, right?
Yeah.
So you never know.
You never know. Well, I mean, it's still there's a chance. I want the Browns got to earn it though. They got to earn that trip from me. I've already spent a ton of money this season.
You're telling me
coming up. I know. You make the investment, man. I've spent money left and right, spent time, energy, effort, blood, sweat, and tears, literally, this season. And
Burlow's calling you out. I like it.
I was the snow boy. I live in Cali. Don't give me that. Hey man, for me, if it was purely up to me, I'd have no problem with it. I've gone to cold weather games. I grew up north. I had no problem with it. But it's like the first time I take my wife up there, I don't want her to be miserable, right? And if she's gonna be miserable, I want it to be in a game that is like every play is worth it. You know, if we're out of it, I don't want to go. I don't want her to go up for that. I want her to go up for a game that's relevant. You know, I want her to go up for a game that matters. It'll be her first Browns game. You know, so.
Well, let's put it this way: if that game doesn't matter, then we could be trending the wrong way, and she'll be 60 by the time that we go through that process.
Yeah, that's true. Well, let's hope we start off this one with, you know, start the last leg of the season. We're gonna course correct from what we've been kind of disappointing ourselves with from the offensive standpoint. We're gonna turn it around starting this game. We're gonna win against the Ravens. We're gonna win against the Raiders. We're going to play the Packers tough. We might pull out one there. And we're going to beat the Steelers, and we're going to beat the Bengals, and we're going to head into the playoffs, a hot team in the NFL. That's what I'm hoping happens.
I like your hope.
That's what I'm hoping, man.
Hope springs eternal, right?
Yes. So it has been said, so it will be.
Boom.
And with that, my friends, we will leave you today. Thank you guys all for hanging with us tonight for this Wednesday show. And we will see you Sunday. What time's the game? Is it 1 o'clock?
1 o'clock start, yeah.
Regular bat time, 11:30 a.m. on Sunday. Mike will not be with us because he'll be at the game, so it'll be just me and my dad. And then, Mike, I'll give you. I'll tell you what. I'll give you because I know that internet's a little spotty.
Yeah.
But I can give you a dial-in. So if you want to call in and just say hello, you're absolutely welcome to do so. Maybe give the phones to Crowley or some of those guys to say hi to the Brownie postgame audience. Yeah. The Brownie postgame pregame show. And then again, you can obviously dial in postgame. If we win, I'm going to need to hear you. If we lose,
I'll be in my spot.
Like right out of the pro shop. All right. You broke up on me there for a sec.
Oh yeah, no, yeah. So we win. I don't get caught up in the walking through that big crowd. I hang out in the back, and actually every time I hang out back there, there's the visitor players are always talking to their families, and then they walk back down around.
Yeah.
But yeah, I will when we win that game.
You'll dial in.
I will dial in with my smiling face.
Beautiful. I love it, man. All right, guys. Thank you very much. And we'll see you Sunday. Go Browns.
Go Brownies.